Hey everyone, it's Eric with Nutrition by Eric here. Hope you're doing well. It is September, the middle of September 2021. And I wanted to talk today about the concept of truth and lies. Now, I'm old enough to remember growing up that there were newspapers and TV. And for information, maybe magazines. That's about it. So I grew up, as you may imagine, pre-internet. Yes, there was a time before internet for those of you who don't know what that is. Pre-email, pre-websites, pre-social media. So most people got their information from, aside from other people, they would get it from the newspaper, the TV. The TV would be news or something that had current events on it. Maybe a talk show, not necessarily news, or some entertainment show, which would have information. Not really news, but they all still exist today, but just some of them much less. Like newspaper, probably way less people, of course. Well, actually, how do we get information today? Well, internet. You can go to rather than a newspaper, you can go to a newspaper website. New York Times, Washington Post, whatever. And they have different models. Some are free, some are paid. So if you don't pay, you may not want to pay. You may not see what they have. I recently found there's news.google.com. And if you have an Apple computer, you have a news app. So there's a variety of things that I would consider information. Now, are they truthful? Are they honest? Are they telling you the truth? This is a very important question, I think, because if we're learning about what's going on in the world, we're not all psychic. Or if we are, it's not all developed psychic ability. And we have to get information somewhere. Is it safe to go outside? Is there a terrorist attack? Is it going to be a hot day? Is it going to be a sunny day? It could be topical information, or it could be very important information. Political changes, elections, recalls, what have you. So I'd like to propose the idea of questioning the validity of your information. Now, when I grew up, there were people like Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather, and to be honest, I never really watched the news. I grew up in Florida, and it was all, it wasn't sunshine and rainbows, but it was a lot of sunshine, maybe a few rainbows. And I never really thought about world events. I grew up, there was Reagan, and there was Clinton, and Bush Sr., and Bush Jr. I never really paid attention to that. I guess you could say it was a time of prosperity. There was lots of jobs. I just didn't pay attention. But now that I'm getting a little older, I watch what's going on, and I learned the concept of macroeconomics, and so you have political information, financial information. You have people maybe running. Basically, there's a lot of information out there, and with all the events going on in the world, I also use social media a lot. Not really to socialize or share a lot of my thoughts, even though I do from time to time. I more use it to consume information, what people say, what people's philosophies are. If somebody, let's say there was a speech by a political figure, I could see the reactions if people say they think it's true, or if they want to disassemble the argument or the speech, they could say, oh, this was not true, and here's why, blah, 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 blah. So it's interesting to see what goes on and what is shoveled out and what is disseminated. That's a good word. And you may know the acronym MSM for mainstream media. Now, a lot of people will watch it and just accept it as truth. And that I think is not a good idea. I think that is dangerous. I think it's dangerous because no one really questions. And I think if people want to, there are groups out there that know this, and know people just will accept whatever's in the news because they have a history of telling you the truth, or so you think, or they seem dignified, or they think, or they speak in a certain way, or they dress real nice, or they come off with a vibe or a tone of authority. So, okay, so on the news they said this, oh, great. And it's in a lot of places. So just because something is said on the news, in the newspaper, the digital version of the newspaper, or on social media, or on all those, and in many places, doesn't mean it's true. Now, it may be true. If there's a hurricane or an event and you can go out and see it, okay, yes, I see it. Many people see it. There's eyewitnesses. This is true. But for the world of science, or the alleged world of science, if it said a microorganism exists, or a certain thing exists that you can't see with your own eyes, you can't hear with your own ears, other people cannot, then I ask you to question that, even if you hear it and see it in many, 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 many places. If it's in 100 newspapers or 1,000 newspapers and on social media, and there's fact checkers, I still ask you to do your own research. There's an old bumper sticker I saw growing up that says, question reality. Maybe a similar one, question authority. Yeah, most of us grew up, and if we had parents, they said, do this, do that. And then if we said why, what would they say? If you're like me, it was because I said so. So we're kind of brought up, the psychological imprint, the psychological conditioning of someone authority, or someone we believe to be authority, we believe them. It's not always the case, and I don't think that's what's happening now at all. So I ask you, if you're a truth seeker, or consider yourself to be, or want to be, go out there and look on the alternative websites. Now, yeah, what is the alternative? If you want to question these things, you have to search otherwhere. Otherwise, you have to look in other places. You have to look up things you may not know. Maybe there's some website you've never heard of that doesn't have the accreditations you're familiar with, or that it may not be familiar. But I ask you to do the research. Consider the other side. There's a concept called critical thinking. I think even that's being kind of poo-pooed or discouraged. That's a good word. So a lot of things that would help us come to our own conclusion are being challenged. It's almost like, how dare you think for yourself, or is it more, hey, we've got a big we, kind of in quotes, in a amorphous, unknown we that's out there saying, we have an agenda, we have a platform, we have an idea we want to push out. So how dare you think for yourself and question this? This is I, the Almighty Oz, speaking. Don't look behind the curtain. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. So I ask you, yes, look behind the curtain. Be like Dorothy and her entourage. Question. Look for alternatives. Check if you've been tricked. It's okay. Sometimes you're not, but sometimes I think most people have been. There's probably just a psychological phenomenon that, if you believe things long enough and you believe the group that's telling you this, or the person on TV, or there's a psychological phenomenon. I don't even know all these concepts, but I just think it happens. I think this is going on and has been going on for a while. Look into Napoleon. Napoleon allegedly wanted to change opinion. He owned, I think, 3 newspapers, and I think maybe a 4th one in Egypt, and he would have people put things in these newspapers to put him in a favorable light, even though he probably was not worthy of the recognition. But if he could do that hundreds of years ago, imagine what can be done now with a few clicks of a button, a few clicks of a mouse, the keyboard, and I don't know. I'll leave you to it, but I really felt this important. Question authority. Don't trust everything you hear. Do your own research. And yeah, let me know what you think. What have you learned besides? Let's just joke a little bit before I wrap up. If you grew up learning about the Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, that's a long time ago. I didn't have that in my youth, but you may have had. What was that like? You may have believed it, and maybe you're too young to think anything of it. But not everything is not everything is as it seems, and probably much more. There's much more. Reality is probably way different than you and I think it is. All right, so leave it at that. Hope you're doing well out there. Stay strong, stay safe. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave a link. Please leave a comment below. Check the description. I usually leave links for information, health-related information, or courses, or products that I find interesting that might be helpful to you as well. If you haven't already, please hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who you think may benefit from it. That's about it. Thanks so much. Until next time, take care.